man. Oh man, let me get the camera in focus, y'all. Y'all ain't gonna like me this video. There we go, get it in focus. Man, this about to be crazy. Police officer to serial killer, the case of Rosemary. My bad, can't say your last name, dog. The reason why I know this one's about to be hella crazy, and I know I'm about to talk ish. Look, I always share my personal experiences with y'all. Remember when I told y'all the first and the third, that's two fingers. First and the third time I got arrested before, right? Real quick, then we gonna start the video. You can fast forward if you want. By this crazy ass cop in the city, bro. Flint, Michigan. I ain't gonna say his name. This was when I was in middle school, though. I seen how people, how they get when they get a certain title, bro. You knew money, power, respect. But then they drop respect and turn to money, power, and fear. Because whether you like it or not, there's people out here who would rather be feared than respected, dog. So you also got a little more connections, too. You got to step above the average serial killer. Because now once you got these connections and you working for the law, you got first dibs on a lot of ish that's coming in and some ish and how some ish is going out. Look, just listen to me, dog. You can also intimidate. It's crazy. You know killers. You know drug dealers. You know kidnappers. You know all this. You bring them in. So now, I know where you messed up. I know your moves. I know how you did. Ooh, on people think this is if this person moves smart. I just read this title and it got me thinking about someone. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it at the end. Someone I know personally. So I'm like, damn, this gonna get hella scary, right? My bad for the long intro, dog. Look, I don't even know what was about to go here, all right? It's just, I love to take y'all into my world, take y'all into my head before we watch these videos. That way we understand where I'm coming from. Could be wrong, could be right, don't know. It's just my life. Once you got the original video, link will be in the description below, but let's go.
There is no exact definition in the dictionary to describe an evil person. But following the details of this case, this woman comes pretty close. My name is Adrian, and welcome back to another video by Coffeehouse Crime. In today's case, we'll be looking at the crimes of serial killer Rosemary Ndlovu, and how this policewoman's selfish desires took the lives of 6 innocent people, with a further 6 planned. By the way, I post solved, unsolved, and strange cases here on a weekly basis, so if that sounds like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing to Coffeehouse Crime. So pull up a seat, grab a coffee, and sit back. This is the case of Rosemary Ndlovu. From majestic mountain peaks and vineyards, to rugged bushveld and unspoiled beaches, our case today takes us to the beautiful continent of Africa.
Hey.
And more specifically, to the southernmost tip of South Africa. The country is largely popular amongst tourists for its rolling savannas, which are doted on amongst safari lovers. And alongside its beautiful coastal scenery and unique cuisine, it is no wonder that people from all over the world visit this corner of geographical paradise.
I can't wait till I go.
And of course, who could forget its sprawling vineyards that have emerged in the past century, making South African wine a staple in anyone's wine rack. Zeroing in on our location for today, we're travelling into the province of Gauteng, which encompasses South Africa's largest city, Johannesburg. Classed as a megacity, Johannesburg is the economic powerhouse of South Africa. However, although this may be the case, the city has a very polarizing divide when it comes to wealth, with a whopping 37% unemployment rate and 29% of the population living in informal housing. Putting it short, life in the big city is far from beneficial for everyone.
Ooh, no.
You could argue that money is what
Ooh, shit, I thought my hood was bad. Ooh, no. Damn.
is far from beneficial for everyone.
That's crazy.
You could argue that money is what keeps the planet spinning. It buys us essentials, necessities, and also luxuries. A notion that today's subject seems to pay a lot of attention to. In the northeastern flank of Johannesburg, we find the home and workplace of Rosemary Ndlovu. Rosemary was born in 1975 to her mother Maria Mshwana and a father who remained.
Isn't it crazy how like normal of a person she looked? Look, I ain't gonna cap though. Her eyes, you kind of can see a look. But far as like everything else, she's just like a normal person. That's the part that really be getting you though, dog.
Rosemary was born in 1975 to her mother Maria Mshwana and a father who remains unnamed. Rosemary was Johannesburg born and bred. She grew up with a relatively normal childhood and also graduated at a high school level. In her adulthood, she was described as an average woman, and those around her would say that she could be quite brash and rather masculine in nature. She trained and gained work as a police officer, where she excelled due to her hardy nature. Although Rosemary dedicated most of her life to her work, this would not stop her from getting married. It was in the year 2011 that she met a new boyfriend, Morris Mabasa. Morris worked for the US Embassy, and he was known to be a kind and generous man, both physically and financially looking after his 13 siblings and aging mother. He had friends all over Johannesburg, and his work would take him to many provinces. From what is known, Rosemary and Marie seemed to have a relatively happy relationship, although they were known to have the odd fight here and there. Financial struggles, long days of work, the usual things that you'd expect in mild arguments.
Yup. I'm about to say
Rosemary and
same typical marriage shit, relationship shit.
Maurice were both well-paid workers and earned high in their respective fields of industry.
Stop sleeping
But there
with
was
my
a big
cousin.
difference in how the two would spend their money. Although Morris would share his wealth with his other members of family, who were often in poorer situations, Rosemary was quite the opposite. She would often spend all the money she had on herself and her gambling addiction, rather than helping out her poorer siblings and mother. And many of them quite literally lived in poverty. Due to Rosemary's nature of work, and also her family members' lifestyle and living conditions, she would often tell them that maybe they should consider getting life insurance, as the mortality rate for those living in poverty in Johannesburg is sadly very high. She often offered to file and pay for those insurance policies as she had a well-paying job within the family. And so the insurance was filed for several family members, including her cousin, witness Madala Homu. Rosemary had previously expressed to Homu's mother that she was worried.
I don't know if she was legit saying that, like, because of legit that reason, but I'm sorry. If my brother ever walk in here like, hey, I think all of y'all should get life insurance, at that point I already know you about to try to kill me. I don't even know if that's where it's going, but I'm sorry, boy. I watch too many damn movies. The fuck you mean, boy? Get life insurance? How you doing?
Madala Homu. Rosemary had previously expressed to Homu's mother that she was worried for him, mostly due to the way that he conducted himself and the people that he involved himself with. She therefore encouraged Homu's mother to add him to a burial society. Homu's mother accepted, and the policy was filed with her consent. However, during this procedure, Rosemary listed herself as Homu's wife, and being his cousin, there's a few things wrong with that. A few months would pass, when suddenly in March of 2012, Homu disappeared without a trace.
Yeah, I'm getting confused. Hold up. So this is her own family. She's starting to get life insurance, right? And the dude she married actually is her cousin. I'm gonna go back and watch this part, and I'm gonna edit it all out though, so you won't see it. But boy, what kind of Jerry Springer shit going on? They tell me black people don't do this.
However, during this procedure, Rosemary listed herself as Homu's wife. And being his cousin, there's a few things wrong with that.
A few?
A few months would pass, when suddenly in March of 2012, Homu disappeared without a trace. With the family living in poverty, and therefore having no cameras, mobile phones or social media profiles, barely any pictures of Homu or his family are available. But Homu was a family man. He loved his mother, and he was close to the rest of them too. So after vanishing with no correspondence to anyone, it was a very troubling sign for the family. Seemingly distraught by his disappearance, Rosemary spearheaded a search for her missing cousin, assuring her family that she would do her very best to try and find him.
Wow.
And sadly, that search didn't last too long either. Very shortly after investigations began, Homu's body was discovered just a few miles away in Olifantsfontein, a town just north of Tembisa. Autopsies discovered that the cause of his death was blunt force trauma to his head. And, rather obviously, his death was ruled as homicide. But unfortunately, these are the lower class lands of South Africa.
Yep, so...
He was just one of many murders in this area.
That's how it
and
works.
as a result, further investigations were sadly deemed not worth the funds or time. Witness Madala Homu was laid to rest in March of 2012. and although Rosemary had taken out insurance for her cousin, she contributed almost nothing to the funeral costs for him. In fact, despite being paid 100,000 rand or $6,500 through his death, she contributed a measly 200 rand, the equivalent of $13. Homu's family were devastated, but with barely any money, they had no time to mourn. They moved on with their working lives pretty swiftly after his death. After all, this was quite common in the area.
I have a challenge for all of you. Go to...
Is it? What the fuck? 13? Nigga, I can't even buy an eighth with this.
We're moving 1 year on, and it's now June of 2013. Rosemary's sister, Audrey, who lived nearby, was in the midst of her everyday routine. That was when Rosemary called her to see if she would like to have some dinner with her later that night. Audrey was surprised by this invitation. It wasn't a usual offer from her, but she gladly accepted. She invited Rosemary over to her rented room in Tembisa, and the two proceeded to share an evening meal together. Audrey was happy to see her sister. It had been a while, and the two rarely shared an evening in each other's company. Supposedly, nothing worth mentioning happened during this dinner, and afterwards, Rosemary left Audrey's house and went back home. The very next day, to her parents' surprise, Rosemary couldn't get hold of Audrey on the phone. So with concern, she raised the alarm and requested that the police begin a search for her second missing family member. Arriving back at her sister's place the very next day, neighbours overheard screams and crying as they witnessed Rosemary grieving for the loss of her sister. Audrey had sadly been poisoned and then strangled in her very own home, before being left dead on her floor to be discovered the very next day. Prior to her own death, Audrey had...
You know how horrible of a person you gotta be to kill your family member? Look at and count $13 and don't feel bad and do it again. That's fucked up. You have no heart. That is fucked up, dog. Nigga, I ain't gonna tell that.
Being left dead on her floor to be discovered the very next day. Prior to her own death, Audrey had taken out life and funeral insurance policies to her own name, which was kind of surprising as she could barely afford the room that she rented. The insurance and funeral payouts totaled 700,000 rand, the equivalent to $45,000, and the beneficiary to this was Rosemary. And so, another member of the family had been found dead, both from low-income households and both with life insurance.
So did she get more for this
both addressed to Rosemary as the beneficiary. And just like before, this murder was barely investigated or chased up. A couple months later in 2014, and Rosemary moved to police stations.
They don't got people that check shit like that work there, like, oh, we got another family member dead and the beneficiaries. Damn, it's him again. That right there, the second one don't bring up a red flag?
A couple months later in 2014, and Rosemary moved to police stations, opting to become a constable at the brand new Tembisa South station in East Rand. She would settle into her new role very quickly, her new co-workers all claiming that she was very pleasant and generous. She would often buy them all lunch, and gave loans to any of them who were in need of money. But that wasn't all the time. Some days, Rosemary would walk into the office with a very dark cloud around her, often irate and angry, complaining that she was broke, and making sure that all of her colleagues knew that. They were also aware that she had been frequenting Empress Palace in Kempton Park, a large casino in Johannesburg. It seemed as if Rosemary was frequently coming into money.
It's crazy how bad you are with money, but yet you have this I'll do anything urge to get it. I don't get it.
In Johannesburg. It seemed as if Rosemary was frequently coming into money, only to lose it again to gambling and frivolous spending. And although Rosemary had recently started a new job, it was in the year of 2014 that she fell pregnant to her first and only child. Her name was Makanani. Maurice and Rosemary loved their daughter more than anything in this world, and they would make sure that she was happy. Maurice doing his part as a responsible father in caring for Makanani. But the birth of their new baby daughter wouldn't heal the couple's turbulent marriage. And actually, their relationship was so turbulent that Maurice would often disappear overnight when things got too much. This pattern continued until one night in October 2015. After yet another argument between the two, the couple headed their separate ways for the night, Rosemary staying with the baby, while Maurice did his usual thing by storming out the house. But, strangely enough, this time he never returned home. Being gone for more than one night had Rosemary worried. Worried enough that she went to the police station to get help. And you can probably guess where this is going. Just later that very same day, the body of a deceased man was found in the town of Oliphants-Fontaine. A body that, soon after, would be identified as Maurice Mabassa. Maurice had faced an extremely violent death. He was riddled with more than 80 stab wounds. And after this, his body was dumped alongside a quiet road. Although the cause of his death left barely any room for imagination, the actual motive as to why he was killed was not obvious. None of his valuables had been taken from him. In fact, the way that he was identified was through his credit card in his wallet found on him. And just like before, this case was pushed under the rug, never to be investigated any further. Maurice had life insurance cover, and no surprises, Rosemary was the beneficiary. She received 400,000 rand in compensation for his death, with an extra 100,000 rand from his employer, the US Embassy. 3 deaths, 3 policies paid out to Rosemary, and 3 instances where she was now financially stronger. Surely all this death in the family was enough to raise suspicions. Yet, surprisingly, it didn't.
Oh, I can't stop this shit up.
We're pushing on.
I'm sorry, bro. I don't know if it's because I'm always looking at shit a little different. Fuck the first one. The zero one, I'm already looking at it different because you don't come in here and ask everybody to get no damn health insurance. That ain't just normal family shit. I see if it was like, all right, look, we actually moving as a family, you know what I'm saying? We got a new baby, things happening, boom, boom. Yo, let's do this. But if it's just out the blue, you come and ask, and then, bam, somebody dead? Nah, stop playing. I'm sorry. And I get it. It's easy to have hindsight. It's easy to have that 2020 vision when you're watching it after it play out. It is. I'm not even going to say it's not. But, I'm sorry. When red flags raise for me, this is my curse. When red flags raise for me, I instantly jump out the window on the situation. I get to thinking, ooh, no, because this can happen, that can happen. And that's why I need to stop it. I legit do. But, bro, I'm telling you, red flags like that, like, hell no. There's something more to this. Let's go.
It didn't. We're pushing on to June 2016, and Rosemary had new company in her home. Her niece, Zanelle Motha, had come to stay with her for a few weeks, as she was having financial trouble. It was during this short visit that Zanelle was tragically hit by a car in Kempton Park. Miraculously, Zanelle survived. She did, however, sustain several injuries, and so Rosemary kindly took her to the hospital to be checked over. Doctors who examined Zanelle would find that her injuries were only superficial, and therefore, she was discharged from hospital that very same day, Rosemary again taking her back home and into her care. However, that very same night, Zanelle started to complain of severe pain in her chest. In fact, the pain had become so violent that she couldn't stop crying. Rosemary rushed her to the hospital the very next morning, and, upon arrival, only one of them was breathing. When examined, Zanelle only had a few abrasions on her face, but the real problem was internally, where she had multiple fractured ribs, and her liver was severely damaged. Doctors sadly couldn't do anything for Zanelle. There was no way that they would have discharged her the previous day if she had these injuries. The conclusion was that this must have happened after she was discharged. When asked by doctors...
See, because when she got hit by the car, I thought her cousin hit her. That's why I was like, yeah, and it was like she did not. That's why, yeah, snitch on her ass. So you telling me I legit got hit by a car? And the doctor told me, I'm like, you good? Like, oh, appreciate it. I thought I was hurt. And I come back after dealing with cousin and it looked like I legit got hit by a car?
The conclusion was that this must have happened after she was discharged. When asked by doctors, Rosemary said that she had no idea how this could have happened. Apparently, Rosemary had been out of the house for most of that day, so maybe it was accidental and self-inflicted. Lo and behold, Zanelle did in fact have a life insurance policy, and Rosemary was again the beneficiary. She received 120,000 rand, the equivalent of $7,500. Authorities didn't question the circumstances, Therefore, no investigations were ever conducted. Another member of the family gone, and still no suspicion from anyone.
I hate to tell you this. I really do. I'm a bomb into what I'm gonna say it. But look, not in all cases, but in damn near most cases, people are not going to value your life higher than you value your own life. And I said it to say this: yes, people are going to treat you differently based off your tax bracket. People are going to treat you differently just the way you carry yourself in general, which is why something like this would have never happened in the hills. I'm not talking about white or black. Stop going there. That's new shit. I'm talking about titles, your status. That wouldn't happen. This wouldn't go down there. Just like that one video we had. I think it was by Coffeehouse, or was it by that chapter? You get offended if you want. It's the same thing when no, it was Mr. Ball and Piggy Palace. All the prostitutes, the junkies, whatever, it was coming up missing. Police wasn't on it to jump to move quick. It goes back to the same thing. It's going to take numbers for them to say, all right, now what's going on? This shit, depending on your status, if this shit happened once, hold up, what the fuck happened? Put this shit together. In most cases, we see in some cases people will jump on it to help people with no status, lower status. We seen it. Got to get them stripes somehow. Stop playing everything in business. Pete, we've also seen the ones where the ones uppity in the hills will get away. That's why I said most cases. We seen it. But more than likely, dog, what was that one fact we saw? It was one of the fact videos we saw, and it was like, I don't know the words. I'm probably bombing, but it was like, if basically you living in the hood, basically it's a higher chance the person to get away with your murder. I forgot the word, and they use urban and community. You know how they talk, whatever. It was one fact video we saw it not too long ago. It was not the one that it was just like in general. It was just like you had a 30% chance that the police would never crack your case. Not that one. It was another one we saw about. Damn, I wish I could find it. Basically, it bubbles down to if you live in the hood, ghetto boy, I think it was a 40% chance that the person would just get away. Like, not even police knowing about it, trying to crack type shit. No, just get away. I said to say this. Harsh, I know. People are not really valuing, the police there is not really trying to hurry and look for these people and crack this shit because, like they said, the low income, it happens every day. It's not my words. You heard them say it. It was just said a little different.
Another
Crazy.
member of the family gone, and still no suspicion from anyone. Who exactly knows what happened to Zanelle that fateful night? Unfortunately, the final chapter to her life would die alongside her. Book shut, case closed. After the death of Zanelle, Rosemary began to get closer to more members of her family, namely Zanelle's brother, Mayeni Mashaba. By April of 2017, Mayeni was due to visit Pretoria, a city just north of Johannesburg. And Rosemary, wanting to be closer with her nephew, offered to drive him halfway, where he could then hitch a ride from a gas station. Mayeni agreed.
Gosh.
Rosemary dropped him off as planned on the R21, before heading back to her own home late that evening. And the very next day, she received a phone call from the police. They had found a body in Olifantsfontein.
You don't get tired of fake crying?
And after investigating, it was identified to be Mayeni. Another death, and another insurance claim to be filed. Only this time, the insurance company was a little more thorough. On the policy, Rosemary was listed as Mayeni's partner. Again, kind of gross. And as she couldn't produce any proof of such a relationship, the claim was ultimately rejected, Rosemary receiving nothing. And that pattern continued later in 2017. As in April of that year, Rosemary's nephew named
You ain't get no money, you ain't get no... My bad, I went 10-year-old on your ass. Nan and a boo-boo. Head ass.
Brilliant Mashego suddenly disappeared.
Did I hear that right? Hold up.
Use any proof of such a relationship, the claim was ultimately rejected, Rosemary receiving nothing. And that pattern continued later in 2017. As in April of that year, Rosemary's nephew named Brilliant Mashego suddenly disappeared, only to be found dead several days later. The records of Brilliant's cell phone pinpointed that the last person to see him alive was Rosemary, and Rosemary's records highlighted that the two were together for most of the previous day, driving from Johannesburg to Bushbuck Bridge before parting ways in the evening. Rosemary denied these claims, and even further, she refused to be questioned about it by authorities. Similar circumstances to before, Brilliant had 3 life insurance policies to his name, with Rosemary listed as the beneficiary as his mother. However, without being able to provide any proof of this, the claim was ultimately rejected. With not one but 6 family members now dead through strange circumstances, I'm sure even Rosemary wondered if she could ever be stopped from her killing spree.
For real.
She had evaded the law 6 times, and she had no plans to stop either. And that would be the case until the year 2018. With 2 murders in the family fruitless due to rejected insurance claims, Rosemary was getting desperate. She was low on money, and she needed to make more people disappear, and fast. And this time, she would source the help of a hitman named Ndlovu Kunene. Being a police officer, she had found him through her field of work, already arresting Kunene several years ago.
That's where power kicks in. Remember at the beginning we were talking about titles, money, power, respect. That's where power kicks in. Not all of us can go out and do that. The money part is at the beginning, dog, because any and everybody can get the shit. You can have so much money, boy. I guarantee you it'll be somebody out there. Less money than that, but more power. Then that's when shit can that's when shit can get real. You gotta be careful going to war with them kind of people, cause their connections are a little different. I'm telling you, I'm gonna tell y'all some shit at the end of this video, dog. Personal experiences. I don't be on here just talking gibberish all the time. When I share stories, though, personal experiences. See, now this shit about to get damn.
Police officer, she had found him through her field of work, already arresting Kunene several years ago for possessing a gun.
See,
she approached him with a plot to kill her own sister, Joyce. And, disturbingly, her request also included killing all 5 of Joyce's children, her youngest being only 6 months old. Kunene was by no means a saint, but he was shocked by her request. With a command so evil, Kunene couldn't go ahead with it.
Thank you, dog.
So instead, he approached police with the information that he had, despite that same information being enough to criminalize himself. He shared everything, telling the police about her background, her plot, and her motive. And in response, police decided to employ Kunene to be a part of an undercover plot to acquire more evidence. The plan was simple enough, police discreetly fitting his car with a video camera. All they needed was for Kunene to somehow lure Rosemary into the passenger seat and unknowingly confess to her own plans. Kunene called Rosemary, asking her if she could meet him to iron out the details. She agreed, and this time Kunene would have an accomplice, who was actually an undercover police officer. She agreed to drive the pair to Bushbuck Ridge, about a 5 hours drive from Johannesburg. This was in order to show them where her sister and her children lived, and how exactly she wanted them to be killed. The sting operation was a great success, and what Rosemary was caught saying on camera is haunting.
Damn. And the crazy part is how she trying to keep it clean by saying, "Nah, don't do it that way, because then it's gonna look suspicious. That's not how we do it in that area. So make it look the same." So her mental obviously is there somewhere. But the crazy part is how sloppy she moving. She legit went to him because she was a hitman. She knew she had that connection. Boom, boom, boom. Straight up told that man 6 damn people. Even he couldn't handle that shit. So he flipped it. They're probably gonna let him out, do whatever, because he was still fucking himself over. But still, by him being a little snitch helping, low key, and it's a good way. I don't give a fuck what you say. It actually turned sour, went sloppy for her. Cause you didn't know that man like that. You thought just cause that was his past that he's gonna continue doing that shit. He was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna flip this shit to get you locked up, get me on the road a little better."
Ngiyohlangana naye ngimbize sihlangane somewhere mina mhlambe ngifake imoto laphana yabona ngimnikezele la philisi njabula yabona ngimtshele ngithi lamaphilisi asiza.
I was my brother walking. Hey, bro, take this shit's flu. Nigga, you don't get the fuck out my face, that damn pill. It's a big ass Tylenol, boy. You get off my damn face.
Ngimtshele ngithi lamaphilisi asiza ntambama mawulala uwaphuza wemkhuhlane ngithi manje kuzingena isizini yomkhuhlane ngithi niwaphuze mani lala ngoba ayalalisana then nina nizokhona ukungena ke akunamabhadla laphana ngibuyela la esibhedlela ngibuyela la esibhedlela nayo baba endlini uyazi ukuthi ngila esibhedlela so la esibhedlela ngicelile banginikeze i-pass out bathe ngibuye ngo-4 so lana noma ngafika ngo-5 6 7 akunandaba esilong ngidlulile so ngoba ngithi indawo ekushisa ifuna ngishise kusebusuku siyayibona ngiklini mina nginakucala ngazo sebangiyindawo nakusasa ngiyavuka ngigijima ngiyekhaya ngicela amalungiselelo ngiyaklima ngenza zonke lezi zinto.
Needless to say, Rosemary was arrested just moments after showing the hitmen her sister's house. The following court case was a lengthy one. Beginning in 2018, she was trialed for 6 counts of murder for the lives of her cousin, Madala Homu, her sister, Rosemary Ndlovu, her boyfriend, Morris Mabasa, her niece, Zanel Motha, and her nephews, Mayani Mashaba and Brilliant Machego. And throughout her killing spree, Rosemary had pocketed 1.4 million rand from several insurance payouts, totaling around $90,000 US or £65,000. Throughout her trial, the court found it difficult to gather sufficient evidence to support all 6 murders, as there was never much of an investigation into any individual case. And as a result, the court had to take a substantial amount of time to build this unique case against her. 3 years later, on the 22nd of October 2021, Rosemary Ndlovu's trial began. The court amassed a total of 40 witnesses to come forward and testify against Rosemary, which included family members, colleagues, and the 2 hitmen that she had attempted to hire to kill her sister. As proceedings began, Rosemary was jovial towards the court and often posed for cameras, seemingly unaware
and then
of
she's
how
showing off the drip. Oh, she crazy. She said, "Hey, nigga, Montclair, motherfucker, purple jeans on you, bitch ass." Yeah, it's crazy.
hitmen that she had attempted to hire to kill her sister. As proceedings began, Rosemary was jovial towards the court and often posed for cameras, seemingly unaware of how serious her situation was. Families of those deceased took to the stand to comment on how unfeeling and flippant she was at the funerals of their loved ones. It was also highlighted that, even though she was the one to prepare and file those insurance policies, she was also always the last person to see the victim alive, and barely contributed towards funeral costs.
That's crazy.
It wasn't until the unflattering coincidences started piling up that Rosemary began to get hostile. She outright denied any involvement in any of these murders, meeting these allegations with anger and rudeness. She even got angry at journalists simply for recording her. Regardless of this, at the end of her trial, she insisted that she was innocent, but did apologize to the families and friends of those who had been killed.
She just look good right now. My bad, I'm sorry.
Regardless of this, at the end of her trial, she insisted that she was innocent, but did apologize to the families and friends of those who had been killed and asked for forgiveness. It didn't take long for Rosemary's verdict to be made. In October of 2021, Rosemary Ndlovu was found guilty on all charges, which included 6 counts of premeditated murder, 4 counts of fraud, and 7 incitements to commit murder. She was therefore served with 6 life sentences, 70 years for incitement to commit murder, and a further 10 years for her counts of fraud. Rosemary will be 71 before she is even considered for parole.
That honestly ain't bad for what she did. That's crazy. The fact she get what?
Speaking about her in the nicest kind of way, Rosemary was a selfish monster with a gambling addiction who saw her own family members as a commodity to trade for monetary gain. This story is both sad and heartbreaking, and through her path of destruction, she has left a huge hole in her own family.
Man.
A family who inherently loved and trusted her, some of them to their very end. But on a more positive note, a mother and her 5 children were all spared their lives with thanks to the conscience of Rosemary's hitman. And who knows who else he has saved in this process.
Exactly.
Wrapping up this case.
Cause she was gonna keep going. So not only did he save them, but it could have been potential for future people. Like I know he just said, but still, that's crazy to think about. Like, damn, I didn't even think about that part.
Man. And who knows who else he has saved in this process. Wrapping up this case, I want to leave you with the interview of Rosemary's sister, who now has to deal with the thought that her very own sister tried to burn her alive.
I was thinking about that too. I'm hot.
I don't have anything.
No pun. Hold up. I don't have anything. Even my house was built by the government. It pains me because she has been employed for a very long time. That's crazy, dog.
Even my house was built by the government. It pains me, as she has been employed for a very long time.
Damn.
Is she not embarrassed by the fact that she wanted to set me alight in a government house? I am unemployed. I do not own anything. And after that, they took Rosemary back to the car. I kept wondering what was happening. They then said what had brought them here. It was that
Shit just hit me. He reading it.
I do not own anything. And after that, they took Rosemary back to the car. I kept wondering what was happening. They then said what had brought them here. It was that I would be dying today with my children at 9 o'clock. They said my sister had bought petrol and cold drink, and poured drugs, which would make me not feel anything when we burn. I wondered why she wanted to kill me, when I had nothing. I felt sorry for her when I saw her in court. But then I remembered that my kids and I were supposed to be dead.
Yep. Man, I wouldn't have felt not the lick of fucking sorry. I ain't even gonna cap to you. Not only did you try to kill me, my kids too. I'll be that mug. Just get this nigga out of here. Brother not, sister, I don't give a damn.
Court.
Out of here.
But then I remembered that my kids and I were supposed to be dead.
And low key, no, I'll do some shit. Fuck that. I'll be hella mad. My bad, excuse me, I'm hot, bro. I'll do some more. Cause I hate, you gotta stop living like this. I'm speaking to myself. Revenge is such a bitch. Like, you really do gotta forgive. I get it. It's hard, though. I ain't gonna cap. Cause I'd have did some shit like, all right. I'd be like, bro, don't even trip, man. I got you in your books. I'm gonna be sending money, woo, woo. And I'm gonna be one of them people, you'll be waiting, like, yeah, you still sending? I'm like, yeah, I'm sending right now, boom, boom. I'm sending. And I'm gonna just lead your ass on. I ain't sending shit. Fuck you, dog. I gotta do something to get you back. I just don't, I don't like you, dog. Damn. You can't live like that. My bad. This is bullshit. And the reason why it's really hot, because it's some shit I want to talk about. But it's like, bro, keep that shit inside your family. Boy, your family's so crazy to me, man. Everything ain't for the internet. This shit is not shocking to me at all. At fucking all.
Feel anything when we burn. I wondered why she wanted to kill me when I had nothing. I felt sorry for her when I saw her in court. But then I remembered that my kids and I were supposed to be dead. And that just about wraps up today's case. Thank you so much for watching another video today by Coffeehouse Crime. You know the drill by now. As always, I look forward to seeing you again.
Boy, I'm over here getting the boosted lips. Hold up, boy. I was getting mad. Hold up real quick. So peep though, at the end, we was gonna talk about money, power, respect, but with fear on it. Cause that from this title, we was gonna go there, dog. I still got some crazy stories in the chamber. I'm gonna tell y'all, if we get to a video about that topic, we'll talk about it then. But this one changed for me because she was doing this to family. At this point, this shit just beyond scary. Bro, there's no love, there's no loyalty. Only thing you know is money. And honestly, I don't even think it was for the money, to keep it 100 with you. It was, but at the same time, it was bad wording. It was for the money, but I don't think you really gave a damn about the money the way that we saw it, because you were bad as fuck with the money as well. So therefore, it was just a lifestyle for you. I could be wrong, but I feel like it was just a lifestyle for you. You were not stopping. You were not even making no money neither. Not only were you not making money, but you bad with the money. But that's all you knew to get, because that's the only thing you know. You were showing off the drill. Hair did up. Because it's like these people, I have so many family members, so many friends. I see it all the time. So many people, this entertainment lifestyle, social media, all that. I'm not saying that's what got her, but what I'm saying is I see it work. That's the only thing they got in their brain. That's all they know. They know they gotta get. Oh, every rapper wearing Balenciaga, I gotta do something to get it. So you get tied up in that lifestyle. It ain't even the money no more at this point. You want it, but it's just a lifestyle at this point, dog. Stop playing with me. You're bad as fuck with it. You know what's scary? I always loved the fact that I came from a big family. Always did. And I want to have a big family as well. But the odds are higher. I love my kid always. I love all my siblings always. But the odds are higher when you are in a bigger family. One will exist. And you just try so hard to still love because it's like, damn. Like, I know this person different than y'all. But I don't think this person loved me any different than y'all. I don't know. Family, dog. That shit always just scared me. Hey, I ain't mean to take everything down, dog. My bad. This was crazy just watching this. At this point, I almost picked the damn cookie up. I don't know, dog. I just be taking y'all into my world. I kept it a little. I walked on a little bit of eggshells, though, because not everything's for the internet. But like I said, this story, this title, it wasn't shocking to me. Even though it flipped to a whole family thing, it still wasn't shocking to me. It's crazy. But I'm out. Enjoy your day.